I'm so late today. I smell like a mule. That's okay. I was helping my mom move my grandpa into a new place today. So I'm a little late, but that's okay. And look at this cover. It's so cute. It's bows. Again, I love that it's not like hearts and shit like that again from the beginning. Okay, so day 5, February 5th. I figured my plan was if I ever miss a day, I'll just double up, you know, on another day. But I didn't want to do that so early on in doing this. So, I'm so glad these are stickers and not like the way that they did like the Christmas one where you had to like, the way that they did it, it was kind of like already, oh my god, what's the word? Perforated? I think that's what it's called. I can't remember. But then you have to like go like this so that you can make it like bend and then it'll be up enough so you can cut it. It's like a whole thing. But anyways, let's see this. February 5th is The Intern, Sarah Shepard. Alright. Sounds like some 50 Shades of Grey type shit, so let's check it out. Alright. Hey Clara. It literally says, hey Clara, my boss Grayson, leaned his tattooed arms on my desk. Oh, actually, you know what? I wanted to, give me one sec. I wanted to put my headphones in to see if the audio is a little bit better. Because I just feel like the audio's been not bad, but I feel like it could have been better. It could have been better throughout the videos I've made. So let's just see if that is. And I think in my first video I used my headphones, so I actually don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, hey Clara, my boss Grayson leaned his tattooed arms on my desk. I have a favor to ask, but if you don't want to do it, I totally understand. I sat up straighter. I'll do it. He looked skeptical. I haven't told you what it is yet. It was my second week interning at V, and I still don't know what I was doing there. Everyone at the record label was constantly in a state of panic about everything. How the new soap in the bathroom wasn't organic. The ineptitude, sorry, I was like, what is this word? The ineptitude of band managers, some mysterious metric called Spotify streams. My first day, Grayson had pointed to a couch near the assistant's desk and said, just sit there for now. I was given a stack of Rolling Stones to read. 4 days passed like that. Grayson had promoted me to my own desk, finally, but I'd received no tasks yet. So I completed 3 New York Times Sunday crosswords. I composed endless drafts of emails to my best friend, Soul Dad, but I kept deleting them because they sounded so distant and impersonal. Oh, and I hid out in the bathroom a lot, though conversations stopped whenever I walked in. I'm not going to tell my father that you hate his shitty record label. I wanted to scream at the congregating girls, the marketing managers, and the assistant publicist and junior art director. And by the way, he's not such a god. He watches Netflix on the toilet. He overuses the word utilize. So we've got a singer-songwriter in town. Grayson fiddled with the button on his collar. His shirt had little dancing skeletons on it, not Grateful Dead skeletons, all top hats and joy, but bony, ugly things that I could picture doing hostile business takeovers and voting unanimously to test their product on animals. These were skeletons with whom my father Cumming led. His name is Phineas Cleary. Really amazing guy. He's been traveling the US for weeks for his album. But with so many other bands here for the festival, we're kind of strapped. You can say no, but, well, he really wants to see a psychic this afternoon, and I'm wondering if you could take him. Speaking of psychics, okay, sorry, sidetrack real quick. Speaking of psychics, okay, I was over in Sedona recently, and me and my boyfriend were walking around, and we found one of those, like, psychic shops. Tell me why they started doing a thing called aura reading, where they take a picture of you, and they let you know what your, like, aura is, like, what the color is. Like, your aura is, like, that color hue that's, like, around you or whatever, right? Yeah. It was like $20 or something to get that done. I was like, all right, I wonder who's paying for this. I blinked. Wait, what? He held up his hands. He held up his hands. Just take him wherever. There's got to be one on the East Village, right? But seriously, I can find someone else. Just say the word. I sat up straighter. No, I'll do it. 2 minutes later, after I finally convinced Grayson I was capable, I called Hexa, my old French tutor. After we finished our lessons on irregular verbs or whatever, she'd read my tarot cards. She didn't even need a guidebook like Soul Dad. Of course she knew of a psychic, but best one in town, Hexa said. I'll pull some strings, get you in today. And by the way, are you hanging in there? I know you must miss her. I know it must be so hard if you ever need anyone. I have to go, I interrupted, hanging up before she could go there. Where is there? I glanced around and noticed a marketing girl staring at me. As soon as our eyes met, she looked hurriedly away, pretending to be engrossed in her computer. I flushed. So what if I was a leper? What if I was a leper at V? I didn't want to be there either. When my father suggested no mandated that I work this summer, I thought he'd stick me in the company's legal department. I saw myself filing papers in a dark back room, ordering stuff on ShopBop on my company credit card, feeding organic popcorn to the birds during lunch. It didn't sound so bad, but then he put me in his record label. Not that he had any clue, but my favorite Pandora channels were Georgian Chants. Still don't know what that is, but okay. My favorite Pandora channel. Also, Pandora, what year is this? Not that people don't still use Pandora, but like, you know what I mean? Anyways. But my favorite Pandora channels were Georgian Chants, people whispering, and sappy songs from the 80s my mother used to love. You know what? I can't say anything because I watch mukbangs to go to sleep. So, okay. John Mellencamp, Brian Adams. I knew every line of Run to You. Still, that didn't mean I want to be an outright failure. I was going to show everyone. I was going to kick this psychic thing right in its psychic ass. 2 hours later, I stood on a nondescript block on the Upper East Side. A child squatted on the sidewalk across the street, drawing swirls with chalk. Nannies chattering away on their phones, pushed complicated baby strollers. 3 identical curly-coated dogs went from the same chicken bone in the gutter. My phone buzzed. Grayson, just checking in. Call if there are any problems. I look up and down the street, avenue to avenue. I didn't have a good idea of who I was looking for. According to Google, Phineas Cleary was 18 years old, only 1 year older than I was. Okay, we got a reference of age. Thank you. A little later than maybe I wanted it, but we got it. Hold on. He had 2 albums out, Faints and Only Then. The picture of him online were blurry renderings, arched neck, hair over the face, zigzagging stage lights. Fans commented that his music was moody and dark and like a punch to the gut. Clara, a tall guy, had materialized in front of me. He had a yellow and maroon scarf wrapped around his neck. Very Harry. I was just about to say, like, that sounds like some Harry Potter shit. Very Harry Potter. His wild, thick blue-black hair was cut in choppy peaks that ended at his pointy chin, and his wide-set brown eyes were framed with the longest lashes I'd ever seen. His expression, an appealing mix of awkwardness, cleverness, and kindness, reminded me of L, the detective from Death Note. We're about to start talking about anime, and I don't know nothing about anime. Detective from Death Note, an anime I was obsessed with when I was in middle school. I had a love-hate with L because he battled against a guy who tried to play God, but now I understand why L was so determined. No matter how much any one of us wanted to play God, no matter how much we wished it were possible, the world wasn't supposed to be in the hands of just one person. Are you Clara? The guy's voice was mid-range, raspy, and heavily accented. Accented with what? Like, what accent? When I nodded, he thrusted out his hand. Grand, I'm Phineas. We shook. His hand was warm and soft. That's weird. The tips of his fingers were calloused from guitar playing. His jubilance surprised me. I was expecting a storm cloud over this guy's head, a leering crow on his shoulder. So are you new to V? Phineas asked, studying me carefully. Sort of. I caught sight of the reflection in a car window and winced. My hair was a snarled mess. My eyeliner was a little smudged. I was wearing one of my mother's Alexander McQueen dresses, a floor-sweeping maxi with a floor-sweeping maxi with delicate roses embroidered into the silk. I intended to wear everything from my mother's closet this summer. My father had been so quiet and so quick to bring in cleaners to haul everything to a charity auction, but I'd managed to stash a few items away. Where did you work before this? Phineas asked. Nowhere, really. I wanted to kick myself. I totally screamed, high school student, the thing I should have said, which would have me look older and more sophisticated, was that I'd been at NYU studying or whatever. What else did people do in college? My cousin, who went to NYU, took a lot of pictures of his privates and posted them on Snapchat. God damn. My other cousin went to UVA and got arrested for jumping out a window onto the hood of a police car. That'll do it. Man. I awkwardly pointed at the brownstone. So, this is the place. He pushed his hand into his pocket and stared at the building. Interesting. My friend says he's the best. Someone buzzes us up. There was chipped paint on the walls. Oh my god. A unicycle leaned against the mailboxes. The elevator had one of those pull across grates that always made me feel like I was in a Hitchcock movie. A man in a white tee, jeans, and socks answered the door of apartment 4B. I felt disappointed. Weren't physics more ostentatious? But Phineas smiled and offered his hand. I'm Dan, the psychic said, leading us into the apartment. It was bare except for a futon couch and a small overturned trunk that served as a coffee table. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Grayson. I silenced it. You can come right through here. Dan gestured to a small door off to the right, then looked back at me. You two? Yes, come for a reading, Phineas said. My treat. Oh no, I backed away. I'm fine. Dan narrowed his eyes. He hadn't shaved in a couple of days. Are you sure? You could use my help. Mind your business, sir. What do you mean I could use your help? What is that supposed to mean? Yes, come for I'm fine, I repeated a little more forcefully. Me too, girl. Dan's face softened. Well, it's obvious you're suffering a great deal from what happened. Well, what happened? I want to know. Nothing happened, the words lodged in my throat, nearly choking me. Dan didn't seem to hear. But just know that someday you'll be okay. You'll be yourself again. I already see it. Who are you? Who is you? Who are you? Who are you? Who is you? Who is Dan? Who the hell is Dan to us? I don't like Dan. Dan irritates me. Mind your business, Dan. What, when you, my whole face went hot. Me too, because I get so angry at people. Ooh, a very hideous a few hideous beats passed. I could feel Phineas staring at me. After that seemed like 10 years. I smiled as though clueless, shrugged my shoulders, and plopped down on the couch. Do your thing. I'll be right here. Dan gave me a beatific smile. Beatific. Anyways, Dan gave me a beatific smile, then turned away. After he shut the door, I stared out the window, even though it was just a view of an air shaft, until my view blurred. My mind felt thick, deep, and soundless, an airless vacuum in deep space. When Phineas came out of the room, he seemed refreshed, as if he had just stepped out of a hot shower. I ushered him out of the apartment quickly, lest Dan accost me again. I'm sorry about that guy, I said when we were back on the street. He was a last-minute suggestion from a friend. Are you kidding? He was totally on point. Phineas's eyes gleamed. Everything he told me was eerily accurate. He was the best psychic ever. Jesus. Way to drink the Kool-Aid, sir. So what did you talk about? What did you talk about? He talked to me. He looked at me square. His eyes were copper-eyed, like shiny coins, and they made something inside me shimmer. That's called being horny. Sorry. I'm just kidding. Oh my god. For a moment, it looked like he was about to say something serious, perhaps about what Dan had said to me. If it was about me, I decided I would leave. Right then, screw V, I didn't care. But then he said, I asked for all the upcoming lottery numbers for the next year, and which stocks are gonna hit, and which team I should bet on in cricket. I'm sick of this songwriting shit. I want to make money the easy way. My mouth fell open. Psychics can do that? He dissolved into laughter. Of course not. We talked about my goals for the coming year. Oh, lame. Lame. I would do that. I'd go to psychic and be like, just give me, you're gonna give me bullshit anyways. Give me bullshit numbers and let's see if it makes something. Oh, it sounded like someone was outside. I was like, ooh, ghost. Weird. Anyways, I'm getting paranoid. No, we're getting... Oh, every time I put these in my ear, I always think I'm hearing something, and I'm not. Of course, not goals for the coming year. He hooted some more, but wouldn't that be nice? Then he looped his arm through my elbow. Come on, how about we check out Central Park? I blinked. I thought about saying that I needed to go back to work, but then I thought of the stairs, my blinking computer screen, and hours of nothing to do. Phineas's coppery eyes met mine, and it was decided. If Phineas wanted to see the park, we'd see the park. I pointed towards the avenue to the left. It's that way. Let's go. On 72nd Street, Phineas paused in front of the Dakota and remarked that he didn't believe John Lennon had been shot outside a structure so beautiful. Inside the park, I led him to a strawberry field and pointed out the Imagine mosaic. There were a few rose petals strewn over the words. I shuddered, remembering the last time I'd seen flowers strewn over a cold gray slab. You all right? Phineas asked. Want to go see the big fountain that overlooks the pond? I asked brightly, pretending not to hear. It's been in a million movies. I walked hurriedly. I walked hurriedly there, avoiding bikers and joggers, an NYPD cop on a Segway. Phineas. What? Oh, okay. Anyways, Phineas matched my pace, his arms swinging. You're a fast walker. Everyone in New York walks this fast. I pointed past the. I pointed past the fountain to the sun dappled water, my voice overly loud. I think I've seen at least 10 people tip their rowboats into that lake. So embarrassing, right? Phineas gazed, remembering me for a beat, but then he dutifully looked at the boats across the water. Waiters scurried to and fro at the boathouse restaurant. My mother used to take me there every summer before Shakespeare in the Park. We'd order oysters, which I loved, but she hated. I could still picture her face when she drank one down, her scrunched up eyes and puckered mouth. Sometimes she pretended to choke to make me laugh. I love oysters. I flinched. I flinched, pushing the memory away. Then I looked over. Phineas was tapping on his phone. Then his gaze fell to a girl across the fountain who was playing a game on a handheld tablet. She kept swearing under her breath and kicking out her legs, kung fu style. She's really getting into that, I muttered. If my mom were doing her family tree, Phineas mused, that lady would be known as addicted to Candy Crush. I looked up at him. Huh? He pushed his hair out of his eyes. My mother is really into our family tree, especially our various traits. But not like how I got my blue eyes from Uncle Derek or whatever. More random stuff. She writes it all down. Thinks she's an anthropologist. She has a little book on us and everything. Anyways, it's how I assess everyone these days. And that girl on the beach, her genealogical marker would be addicted to Candy Crush. Or whatever it is she's playing. I cocked my head. What were some other traits? Let's see. Mean streak. That's one. Apparently that flourished in Aunt Sadie and passed on to my brother. Can't stay away from pretzels is another gem. And incredible lung capacity. I had a great-grandfather who could remain underwater for 3.5 minutes, and he passed that on to me. I'm gifted at underwater swimming. Can't you only swim under? I guess you can swim. I'm like, right? You can't swim, like, I mean, whatever. I feel like that's like a water is wet conversation. I thought for a moment my father has things about loading the... I thought for a moment my father has this thing about loading the dishwasher. If our housekeeper hasn't put the forks in just right, he'll do it all over. That's the first thing he goes to when he gets home, the dishwasher, to make sure those forks are all facing the same way. So that could be his. Forks must all point a certain way. He nodded. My father is like that, except with plants. He won't pull up anything, not even a weed. Lover of plants, not people. I held up a finger. How about hates the sound of chewing? Ah, yes, very much a thing. Phineas tilted his head towards the sky and thought for a moment. And then there's won't go out in the rain. Terrible with children. Thinks dinosaurs existed at the time of Jesus. Has trouble with map reading. I threw in, laughing a little. At least I think it was a laugh. It was an unfamiliar sound coming from me. Picks nose and rolls it into a little ball. I giggled. Cleans fingernails with edge of paper. Ew! Can't remember birthdays. Still obsessed with Christmas. Honestly, the birthdays is kind of me. Still obsessed with Christmas. I'm obsessed with Christmas. I love Christmas. I mean, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I love it. I don't know if it's my favorite holiday, but it's definitely up there, you know? I said and then added, that would be mine. Or, well, that had been mine before. All at once, I wished it were still... all at once, I wished it were still mine. I wish loving Christmas still defined me. He leaned against the railing. Our eyes met, and I felt chills down my spine. There was something so inviting about his gaze. What's the best Christmas present you've ever received? He asked. A book about Easter Island. My answer was automatic. He smiled. Ah, yes, those heads. Who gave you that? My mother. I averted my eyes. Phineas. Phineas nodded. She must be good at picking out gifts. Maybe that's her trait. I stopped before I gave the new knee-jerk answer. Yes, that is her trait, I finished. I smiled. It felt like a new light had... God damn it. Come into the room. It was nice putting my mother in the present tense again. I liked bringing her back to life. Yeah, like, I think there's nothing really wrong with that. Like, if you want to inform people of that, there's nothing wrong with that. If you kind of just want to, in the moment, just kind of be like, talking about a person who's dead in a present tense, like in a present tense, until, like, the topic actually comes up to maybe, like, actually bring up, like, oh, well, actually, like, they're dead. But, like, you know what I mean? But, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I have seen people talk about how, like, they think that's weird, and I'm like, I don't think it's weird. I don't think it gets weird. I think it can get intense. People can get intense about those things. But I don't think it's ever necessarily weird. And I said it in my last video, grief is a very complex thing. You know what I mean? So, there's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no recipe or rules to it, you know? We went into Belvedere Castle and looked at the papier-mâché birds. We walked through the sports field. We walked through the sports fields and watched a game of kitty t-ball. We raced to the reservoir. I won. We stood at the gate, staring at the tranquil water. The city sparkled over the tufted tops of the trees. The air felt fresher here, and it was almost like I could breathe a little easier too. Suddenly, Phineas turned to me, ran his eyes over my face. I felt a thrill, like I was in a roller coaster car that had just descended a huge hill. Have dinner with me tonight, he said. I was so stunned that I laughed. What? At my hotel. I'm so sick of restaurants. I'll make you macaroni and cheese, he answered. From the box? I asked. Well, yes, because that's probably all I can manage in a microwave, if that's okay. There was a lump in my throat. Okay. He touched my hand. I stared at it, not knowing what to do. And then there was a flicker of something, a jolt. But before that, I have to do something first, he said. He stared down the steps and led me to the little stone area across from 9th Street and 15th Avenue. Someone standing next to a water fountain waved at him, and I did a double take. Had Grayson followed us here? Here you go, man, Grayson said, handing Phineas an instrument case. Phineas grabbed it and slapped him on the back. As I whirled around, a crowd had gathered by the statue of Fred LeBeau, the famous runner. Someone was setting up a microphone and several amplifiers. People were talking on their phones. I saw a few girls from the V office gather by the road, texting and talking. A fan shrieked when she saw Phineas. Others started cheering. Phineas broke away from Grayson and trotted back to me, registering my confusion. I'm doing a pop-up concert. I thought of it as we were walking, and Grayson was on board. We leaked details on Instagram and Snapchat an hour ago. He spread out his arms. Surprise! Oh, I said weakly. I wasn't upset. He hadn't told me before. It wasn't like anyone told me anything. But I was disappointed that my time with Phineas had ended. Now I had to share him with all these people. I feel that. You'll stay, right? Phineas's hand was on my arm again. He looked hopeful and almost scared, like he'd done something wrong. Please stay. Sure, I said, managing a smile. Phineas beamed, and after patting me on the shoulder, he ambled to a roadie, fiddling with the microphone. A girl passed in front of me, wearing a Phineas Cleary t-shirt. Phineas's face was in the front, his brow burrowed in concentration. His eyes looked bottomless. After a moment, Grayson sidled over. Going all right? He changed into Buzzcocks t-shirt, a pair of black skinny jeans, and worn Doc Martens. And worn Doc Martens. There was a cigarette untucked behind one ear, a Bluetooth earpiece in the other. It's fine, I said suddenly, noticing that the bottom of my dress was muddy from all the walking. How much? Damn, it's only been 30 minutes. Damn, I'm almost done with it. So, this is a good story, but, like, I'm just not reacting a whole lot to it. I'm just kind of reading it. Because I'm also, like, almost done. And it's only been, like, 30 minutes. But it's, like, it's alright. Alright, let's see how it goes. I'm shocked Phineas was up for this, Grayson mused. Usually when he's in town, he keeps to himself, staying in his room. What did you say to get him to do a pop-up concert? I shrugged. Nothing, just showed him around the park. Grayson was about to say something when Phineas tapped the microphone. All heads swiveled his way, including mine. He strummed a chord, then launched into a song. At the very first note, my breath froze in my chest. His voice was molten. The guitar was angelic. Chills danced up my spine. Goosebumps prickled my arms. Everyone was transfixed too, staring at Phineas as though he was a newly discovered species. Girls in the Phineas t-shirts swayed and mouthed the words, and I found myself mouthing the words too, even though that made no sense. I'd never heard his songs before now. Suddenly I realized why. This was an old song from the 80s, Bizarre Love Triangle, one of my mother's favorites. I felt a walnut-sized lump in my throat. I cupped my hand over my mouth and dove through the crowd, staggering across the street out of the park and coming to a stop in front of the Fifth Avenue high-rise. I placed my hands over my face, trying to blot out the world, but the sickness and spinning and clenching feeling inside me was still there. Oh God, I whispered, because the cold, airless space in my mind didn't feel so airless anymore. I couldn't stop picturing my Aunt Rosie shaking me awake that awful morning. Clara, she whispered, her voice urgent. I'd known that she was going to say even before I opened my eyes. I tried to stay awake, through my mother's last night on Earth, but I'd failed. My mother was still lying in the hospital bed when Rosie brought me in, but it wasn't her anymore. Her skin was gray, her lips were blue. There was something so empty about her that I'd stalled in the doorway, afraid, my whole being freezing hard and solid. Clara, I shut up, peering through blurry, teary vision. Phineas stood on the sidewalk, his guitar still slung around his chest. Hold on. I'm just, like, out of breath because, like, one of my noses is, like, stuffed up right now. Anyway. I shut up, peering through bleary, teary vision. Phineas stood up on the sidewalk, his guitar still slung across his chest. He was out of breath. He looked so tall all of a sudden, so singularly big in a city of tiny people. What are you doing? I demanded. Is your concert over? He shook his head. I walked out right in the middle of a song. I saw you run off. I was worried. That's cute, but that does not happen. I'm sorry. I turned stiffly away from him, noticing the Metropolitan Museum in the distance, stretching a full city block like an aircraft carrier. You don't have to worry about me. Phineas flung the guitar to one side so that it hung purse-like on his hip. Someone needs to worry about you. I turned on him, ready to lash out. Everyone was already worried about me, I wanted to say. Everyone stared at me like I was a freak, mostly because I didn't want to talk, mostly because I didn't cry, mostly because I was numb. But didn't they realize I was trying to spare them from my pain? But when I opened my mouth to tell Phineas this, a sob came out instead. It was weak, not much more than a kitten's cry. I pressed my lips together, mortified. My anger spell was broken. Go back to your concert, I begged. Everyone loves you. Everyone wants to hear you. Just go. Clara, Phineas said softly, touching my hand. Listen, the concert doesn't matter. He paused, collecting himself. I've been wandering around this country on this fucking tour for weeks. It's lonely. People talk around you. People talk around you. There's always someone there, but it's fucking lonely, and I think you understand that. A gust of wind pressed against my side. I did understand. The day my mother died, I was immediately surrounded. It was like people thought if I was left alone, I might slip away too. Even now, whenever I came home, there was a housekeeper there, or a tutor, or the dog walker. You know what? Like, that's so fair. I get that. Like, that's not, like, something I've experienced, but I've definitely experienced being one of the people that tried to, like, just, like, super be there for someone when they were, like, grieving. And I realize that's not always the best thing. You know what I mean? Like, and that's okay. Like, sometimes people just really need a lot of space to, like, super process what they're going through. You know what I mean? Like, and, like, it's okay. I get it. Like, I think both sides, it's like a very, like, everything can be true at the same time kind of thing, right? Because, like, you're very valid for wanting to be there for them and, like, being concerned and making sure they don't, like, kind of slip away or just slip into this, like, psychosis of, like, basically what happened and stuff like that, right? But at the same time, sometimes the way that they don't end up like that is by letting them process that grief on their own and stuff, right? So like, it just kind of is like whatever the person kind of wants to do for an amount of time, as long as they're not really necessarily hurting themselves, you know, in a very significant way or anything, like, just let people be, you know? Like, leave people alone. Cars waited for me at the curb to take me to my friends' houses, activities, volunteer opportunities, but the company felt lonelier than being alone did. At least if I was alone, I could be myself. I could make my own choices. I could grieve. With people, I was always in the smiling in between, wanting to cry, but feeling I had to put up a front that I was healing. Yeah, see, like, that's usually a lot of times when people are, like, trying to be around you, they're trying to, like, cheer you up, right? And, like, a lot of times processing grief isn't always about, like, just moving on. It's about feeling that pain. Like, the only way to get on the other side of pain, I've always believed, is feeling it. Like, you have to just kind of, like, feel it for you to be able to get to that relief on the other side. You know what I mean? So it's not always about just like, oh, you gotta just move on. No, sometimes you gotta just really just sit in that pain. Like, it's just something you gotta go through sometimes. And sometimes it's not always something you go through in just a little while. You know what I mean? Like, you can go through it for a very long time and stuff, right? There is no time limit on grief or pain. That's what I think. Where was I? Oh, you made me feel less lonely today, Phineas said. You made me feel less lost. A single bead of sweat dripped down his forehead, dampening his hair. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to be tough, but suddenly I felt dough soft. That's, you know, sometimes it takes just that right person to be able to break down in front of, right? You really left the concert for me? I asked in a small voice. I really did. Yeah, girl, what do you think? I don't think you went that far away from it, you know what I mean? I think you could tell the music probably stopped. Oh, excuse me, sorry. My father runs the parent company that owns this label. You knew that, yes? I blurted out. Yes, he lowered his eyes, but I only just found out. Okay, I was just confused. Okay. Yes, he lowered his eyes, but I only just found out. I asked Grayson who you were before I went on. And my mother? Grayson told you that too? His throat bobbed. I'm really sorry, Clara. I wish I'd known. The look on his face had shifted into something so heartbreakingly sad. I actually wanted to hug him. But then I shrugged. Well, it's probably better she isn't here to see me working at V. She always kind of hated that my dad had a record label. She thought record labels stole artists' souls. Phineas just looked at me. A taxi swished by, letting out a loud honk. but I'm so much better off, really. I heard myself go on, as though my mouth had separated from my body. She was always telling me to fix my hair and look for company and not to eat with my fingers. Now I can eat with my fingers whenever I want. I grimaced. It sounded so absurd, except I don't want to eat with my fingers, my voice cracked, and I want someone to tell me to fix my hair. I want her to tell me, except I'm supposed to be strong. I'm not strong, though, and it's crap. It's all crap. I stared at him, challengingly. I waited for him to say something pitying, or to ignore my outburst, like my father did, or suggest I needed to visit my shrink, like my father also did. Phineas's eyes flicked back and forth, as if he was slowly processing every inch of the moment. The smell of the sewer, the sound of the traffic, the glinting crystal collar on the dog passing by. Then he tipped his mouth to my ear. Before I left school, we were studying volcanoes. Not the way they work, but the cultural stories behind them. I know every volcano myth known to man. Not just the ones about sacrifice. There was this one about Pele, Hawaii's volcano goddess. Pele, Hawaii's volcano goddess. She got angry a lot. Whenever she did, she could make volcanoes erupt. She stomped her feet and caused earthquakes and created other fiery devastations by slamming her walking stick into the ground. You just look at Pele the wrong way and she'd wreak a natural disaster on you. I thought she was awesome. A real warrior, you know? A strong woman. She could make shit happen. Huh? I said, laughing unconvincingly, because I didn't know where this was going. I look at you and I see Pele. Phineas said to me, taking both of my hands in his and shaking them. You are Pele. You just don't know it. I stared back at him, wanting to laugh. It sounded more like mumbo jumbo, like his devotion to psychics. I wasn't Pele. I was about as far from Pele as one could get. Was there a mealy mouth goddess? A scared, defeated goddess? That's who I'd be. But when he said it again, you are Pele, I shut my eyes and tried to imagine it. I tried to picture myself conjuring up high winds, driving rain, even a tsunami. As I made myself Pele, the wind around us began to... You having a real colors of the wind moment? The wind around us began to blow. And then, like magic, it started to rain. Okay. Where did I go? It started to rain. I opened my eyes and stared at the wet drops hitting the sidewalk. Holy shit, I whispered. Phineas gaped at me. Holy shit, he echoed. Then I noticed a man was was hosing off the sidewalk in front of a luxury high-rise, and some of the sprays had hit our backs. Oh my god. Beautiful. That was beautiful writing right there. That was great. It wasn't rain at all. Just hose water. But still, for those moments, I felt like Pele. I'd created rain. I looked at Phineas and started to laugh and cried too. Phineas pulled me toward him. My hip hit his guitar, and the strings made a dissonant clang, and I barely noticed because his lips were suddenly touching mine. I closed my eyes, my heart thudding so hard it was making me tremble, and I felt him pull me closer, until we were stuck together, until we were melded into one. Then we pulled back and laughed. His eyes crinkled, and the tears ran down my cheeks, and he pressed his forehead to mine, and then kissed my temples, my nose, my lips. It's okay, he said. It's really okay. It's like what Dan said. Someday you'll be yourself again. But you know what? That doesn't have to be today. Okay, I said shakily. Maybe he was right. I'd felt something today, which was more than I'd done in months. As for tomorrow, who knew? I'd quit or not quit V. I'd reconcile with my father or fall more out of touch with him than ever. And Phineas would move on to perform in Philadelphia and then Atlanta, and maybe we'd talk every day or never talk again. But it didn't really matter right then. All I could think about was that water hitting the backs of my legs and how good it felt that Phineas was here with me, telling me it was okay, and how proud my mother would be if she knew I'd just conjured up a storm. That's really cute. That's cute. The end. Yeah, I didn't really react to that one that much. I felt like that one was pretty short. It didn't feel as long. It didn't feel as long as the other ones. I think the one about the dress. Was that this one? Yeah, the one with the prom dress and all that. I think that was the longest one I've read, which is fine with me because so far that has been my favorite one. I would say this one is my second favorite so far. Like, I know I didn't react to it a lot, but it was very simple. It didn't end like it ended like a proper story. Right? Like, I know it kind of ended, it still ended abruptly, but it didn't end as abruptly as the other ones. Like, the other ones, like I said, God damn it, the print shop one, like, it gave so many details, and in the end, it was just, like, a really dumb ending, and all, or just, like, abruptly ends, right? So, or, like, actually, like, my favorite one, the one with the prom dress, that one also kind of, like, abruptly ends, right? Before any of the, like, other things that you were focusing on ever gets answered. But this all kind of gets answered. Now, it doesn't, like, completely resolve, but it's, like, they don't give you so much in the beginning that you're like, wait, but what happened to all of this kind of thing, right? So, like, I think that one so far is my second favorite, just for those reasons alone, you know? Look at that, you guys. I'm so proud of myself. Mainly in the sense of, like, I've definitely read more than this before, but in as little time as it's been, in just, like, the 5 days. Like, normally, it takes me forever to get a good chunk of a book out, but that was awesome. All right, hopefully I can get tomorrow's done. I'm wanting to do it more, in, like noonish, like afternoonish time, so come back tomorrow.